Welcome to the Radio Free Hub City Newscap, live from Honey Pot Acres studio in Hagerstown, Maryland. I'm DJ Warbuckler, the Red Pill Yahoo, and joined by me today is DJ BB the Dingbat. What is the Newscap? It's a podcast format show where we talk about local and global news that matters the most to Hub City. There's no dial-in line, no script, no set agenda. We talk about local and global news that matters the most. The full recording of this show will be available through Spotify as well as X for replay. Now, before we take a look at tonight's topics, a quick word from our sponsor, Honey Pot Acres Farm. Do you want to eat healthier but don't trust all those preservatives they put in grocery store food? Try Honey Pot Acres Farm, where technology meets nature. Our GMO-free, all-natural products are bursting with flavor and nutrition. Look for us at the Sharpsburg Farmers Market on the first Sunday of every month behind Battleview Market on Sharpsburg Pike. And come try our new Honey Pot Acres Farm Hagerstown Gator Sauce. This hot sauce packs a punch that'll leave your taste buds grinning like a gator. Visit honeypotacres.com for more information. That's honeypotacres.com. Now, BB, got some interesting topics to talk about tonight as far as news from the past month. But the first thing I wanted to chat about is we have a new mobile app. And it's actually the same mobile app that we used to have. But there's one little difference, and that's we're not on the Google Play Store anymore, and you have to download it directly from us. Now, I'm not going to get into all of, what happened other than to say it was actually our app developer that they started having some problems where apparently they got completely delisted. So they're like, yeah, if you want, we can re-uploaded it through a new account for you, and I'm like, nah, you know what? I'll just host it myself because I really got tired of that. Happened like 2 or 3 times that our app got removed from the App Store, and all I'm going to say is I'm wearing that as a badge of honor because I think that's just because they could not keep us down because we've got just such amazing independent content, and maybe they felt threatened by it. I don't know. Who's to say? BB, what's your thoughts?
Actually did a little research, and it seems that there were hundreds of thousands of apps that got removed, specifically from the Google Play Store. And it seemed kind of arbitrary. Let me see here. Okay, so let's see. We had, they're saying that there might be over 1 million now. And I'm not sure, I really can't figure out what the motivation was. Now, Google says that they were purging low quality apps, but a lot of people are speaking out saying that, like, I'm not sure what criteria you're using to call something low quality because my app doesn't have security issues. It's very, very popular, sort of thing. So it seems like a lot of people are really confused because it was kind of a mass deletion. So Google came out with this statement, and they said they were mass deleting. It says updating its App Store policies that require Android apps on the store, even if they actually work. And they gave specific examples of what that means. And they said designed to do nothing or have no unique function will not be allowed. Static apps or apps that have one basic feature like displaying a single image or wallpaper, like that's not available. But obviously that's not applicable to our situation, and it also doesn't seem to be a lot of applicable to a lot of other people's apps. So it sounds like a lot of people are upset and confused.
All right, so I'm just going to put on my my tinfoil hat for a minute here, and I'm going to say, gee, you know what? Imagine that 2024 is an election year, and you know a lot of those apps that I know of that were removed, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but a lot of them that were removed were exactly like ours, where they were for independent radio, entertainment, news content. And I'm going back to my original theory that, you know, maybe Google just felt threatened by that, and they wanted to make sure that the independent outlets didn't have as much of a opportunity to become popular and you know, possibly influence the election, because God forbid somebody, you know, actually provide alternative views. And you know, I've got some serious concerns on that. So needless to say, we are no longer on the Google App Store. You can still download our Google app, or you can listen directly on our website, radiofreehubcity.com. You've got a download link there if you want it. It's just a one or two additional hoops that you have to jump through. And honestly, 90% of our downloads were from people going to the website first. So I don't think we really lost anything there. So cool.
No, and they did say, I guess after a little bit of blowback, or a lot of blowback, they did say limited functionality apps. And it said that was to meet uplifted standards for the Play Store. And it says every app on the Play Store now needs to have an engaging and responsive user experience. Otherwise, Google will remove it. So unless they are like testing these apps, like how the heck do you know what kind of user experience people are having? And so now I'm looking at a headline that says some legit apps might have been removed from the Play Store as a result of Google's new policy. And it says, firstly, some of these apps without app-specific functionality, like text-only or PDF apps, they got removed. Other examples of limited functionality apps, it all seems fairly arbitrary, I guess.
Well, I mean, when we have an app that its sole purpose is to allow you to stream our internet radio service through your phone, well, I guess that's considered a single purpose app. You know, like I said, I don't agree with it. I'm okay with the fact that we can, you know, host it independently. And I also look forward to the fact that, you know, there's increasing pressure towards Apple, that they're going to have to start allowing side loading eventually, I think, in the U.S. And they're already having to be allow side loading in the UK and EU. So, yeah, you know what? I'm okay with that. Let freedom ring. How about that? Sound good?
Yeah. I think that's wise.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that there are several lawsuits pending.
Yeah. Well, and you know, if I had the money, I'd absolutely go after Apple, but you know, they have a lot more money than I do, so that's not going to happen.
Right.
Needless to say, let freedom ring. Come listen to us on our website, and that's that. So awesome. All right. Well, and to quote our news article, we are so back.
Yes.
We are so back.
Yeah.
All right, BB, what's your first news topic of the night for us?
I was just going to continue with you know, we did our in-depth, and I kind of wanted to talk about, or maybe have you tell everybody. So we did attend the city council meeting, and we are still getting responses on our surveys, and it seems like the responses that we're getting, from what I understand, are all like we're still seeing the same patterns. They're holding to the patterns that we established when we first took the survey. And so they did welcome us to the city council meeting, and they did kind of hear us out. And you were the one that did the speaking, so you know, I, go ahead, you tell them.
Yeah. So, I got up and, I spoke in front of Hagerstown City Council. And, I basically reiterated our message that, it's time to start at the bottom and start, recommending actions that everybody can take. And we don't have to wait for the government as far as, making our community safer.
Right.
And one of the biggest ways that we, found that you can do that is through private ownership of security cameras. So, how awesome is that? That, we had some amazing responses come through. And now we've got another research survey that we're currently doing. This research survey is on how local media, as well as the government, frames news articles
Yes.
relating to crime.
Yes.
Now, I'm still collecting the data. I want to get a little bit more responses before I actually publish the data. But one of the interesting things to me, and this is probably this speaks to one of the challenges with news media, is so I got a list of articles that are, this is the proposed headlines, and every single one of the headlines, and it's like 7 different headlines, all the same article, all the same message, just framing it differently.
Right.
And what's interesting is I said, which of the headlines make you concerned the most, which of them make you concerned about the safety of your community? And then the second question I asked on it was looking at the following headlines, and it was the same headlines. Which of them would you be most likely to click to read the article? Well, guess what? The one that's winning, the one that makes you the most afraid and most concerned about the safety of your community, just so happens to be the same one that gets you the most clicks to read the article. So, what do you think news outlets are doing? All right, and I try not to sensationalize it as far as when I do our articles. But
Right.
I intentionally added in some sensationalized headlines, and sure enough, the sensationalized headlines were the ones that create the most concern about safety, but they were also the ones that people are most likely to click.
Right.
So,
And
I'm
I
going to
know
say,
a lot of larger outlets and brands, they have someone like that's a person's specific job.
yeah,
And a lot of writers are not coming up with their own headlines. And also, getting buzzwords in there
yeah,
really helps you with your, like your SEOs, where your stuff search results. But also, a lot of times, from what I did a little bit of research too on the other end, and it turns out that the thinking is that if a headline sounds very dramatic or well, like you said, sensationalized, something like that.
yeah,
If we're using more severe descriptors, when certainly, something less frightening would be just as accurate. That the feeling in the media industry is that if you just go, balls to the wall and make it sound as intense as you can, perhaps, that readers feel like you're on their side and that you have like the most accurate information, and that is the conclusion that you came to, is that like, oh, this isn't
right,
concerning, this is actually serious. And so I think that it's kind of a twofold problem, and multifaceted maybe would be more the word.
right, right. Yep, absolutely. And so going through the survey that I'm still collecting the results on still, I am encouraged by the fact that, most of the people completing the survey, the highest, what format do you believe is most trustworthy, was online news articles.
Yes.
So that makes me feel good that, oh, hey, I guess we're making a difference.
Well, that, and I think that I think a lot of people, because I also kind of looked into that, like what forms of media do people prefer and why. And I think a major reason that people trust online news is kind of a double-edged sword, because a lot of us are using social media and similar platforms to access news and things like that. And so they kind of have I want to say maybe a false sense of security, where they figure, if I see it on Facebook, or I'm just using Facebook as an example. If I see it on Facebook and it's not been removed and it's not been given one of those badges that says false or missing information or whatever, this is probably reliable. And so other forms of media might not have that kind of safety net security blanket situation, which again, I say false sense of security, because as we have recently learned, even per Mark Zuckerberg's own recent testimony, that a lot of things are sometimes unfairly labeled false, missing, incorrect, inaccurate, things like that. But it seems like on the reader's end, people do tend to trust those mechanisms. And then also, which I didn't consider, but I do understand, that sometimes people make headlines or stories that purposely have these headlines that are misleading or have false information or whatever, because then people that are kind of on the fringes, they're either, they're kind of on the extreme of wherever their alliances lie. Okay.
And you know what? And I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to call out specific news outlets, but I'm going to say there are two that very much come to mind. One of them is local in the Washington County area, and the other is up in Franklin and York counties. And both of these are very blatantly guilty of intentionally creating misleading headlines, misleading captions on their articles. And in fact, one of them that was the most egregious that I saw was there was actually a incident where a poor woman lost control of her vehicle, traveled into the other lane of traffic, and hit a tractor trailer. All right. And they framed the article headline to make it sound like the tractor trailer was at fault.
Yes.
And
that actually ties into, so I have a million jobs, but that is one of my day jobs. And there are attorneys and law firms that handle nothing but tractor trailer like accident cases for people that are the victims of tractor trailer accidents. And so simply by framing that story in that manner, you have then upped the chances that article is going to take some sort of priority in a feed, because that is a whole different industry of interest that you might not consider, because people are, the average person is not considering these things, or they might not even know about these things. So, branding it that way, even if that's not exactly the truth, they could always claim that, that they didn't know, or that's not how they meant it, and that's a matter of perception, things of that nature. And then, duly, when we're discussing things like that, news serves a purpose, of course, but not everyone's purpose is to inform. And a lot of things that are presented or categorized as news are actually an advertisement or a vehicle for advertising first and foremost.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Well, and I'm not going to deny that, Radio Free Hub City, we get, it's about 50% of our revenue comes through advertisements. I will be first to admit that. But, at the same time, we are not a publicly traded company, and therefore I don't have to worry about what the stockholders want. I don't have to make sure that I'm trying to get the most profits possible.
right.
And I can tell you that our coverage has our reach has suffered because I refuse to sensationalize stuff. I
Yeah.
refuse to run misleading headlines just for the additional clicks.
Right.
And our revenue will suffer for that. Our revenue will continue to suffer for that, but I get to sleep better at night, and I'm
Yes.
okay with that.
Yes.
And people can call us yellow journalism all they want, but you know what? At the end of the day, we're not the ones running headlines like president startled by loud noises
No.
because somebody shot at him.
And there is also a disconnect where a lot of major outlets in a study that was recently done have reported that in many cases, the majority of people that are like scrolling through their news feeds, scrolling through their headlines, don't actually read each article as they see the headline. And so this leads to like a lot of people will see a headline, like perhaps you see a headline that says, the sky is going to be purple tomorrow, like Barney purple. And you don't click the article and you go about your day thinking that that's going to happen. You know what I mean? Just because sometimes, people just skim the headlines and think that they can count on the headline to be accurate or informative, or even just to reflect what's actually in the article.
Well, okay, and this is where I have to jump in with a related story that I did an op-ed on. Now, I'm not the one that actually reported this. Axios originally reported it, but I did an op-ed on it, and I have some very strong opinions on it. And that's that the Harris campaign for president has been purchasing ads through Google that make it look like their campaign is being, I don't want to say endorsed, but basically it's manipulating the headlines of legitimate news sources, such as NPR, such as Time, such as Associated Press, and they're actually manipulating the headlines as sponsored ads. And if you click on the headline, it actually takes you to the article, but of course the article doesn't match the headline that was published. And I'm sorry, but that's just wrong. You are twisting journalism for your own needs, and it's not even your articles. And when I run a sponsored article, I have certain disclosures that I'm required to include that says this article was paid for by such and such.
Right.
And in several cases, the Harris campaign didn't do that. In several
And
cases,
the
it was
Philadelphia
it just
Eagles
showed up as
came out
sponsored.
today. The football team, the Philadelphia Eagles, came out today because some Kamala posters that are Philadelphia Eagles branded have popped up all over Philadelphia, and they in no way enforced or endorsed that candidate or any other. They did specify that, like, it wasn't personal, but the Philadelphia Eagles have not, they're a football team. They did not endorse a presidential candidate. And yet there are posters, there are banner ads, there are subway ads that just seemingly popped up overnight. And they have actually hired legal counsel to get them taken down. So,
Wow.
and then another thing, so I kind of pulled up my, my files here. So, the impact of a headline, an investment firm actually did this study last year, and it says that there's actually something called the headline effect. And it says the headline effect refers to the negative news in the popular press and the effect that it has on a corporation or economy. Now, knee-jerk reaction is to think that these sensationalized headlines draw people to click that, and therefore any advertisers, included in that story, wherever their ad is or whatever, they're going to benefit from this because everybody's clicking it. But economists believe that negative or sensationalized headlines make consumers more reluctant to spend money. And naturally, that is because they think, every day you wake up and the world's falling apart, because we have these sensationalized headlines. And so by drawing attention to certain details or facts, a headline can affect what existing knowledge is activated in your head. So by choice of phrasing, a headline can influence your mindset as you read so that you later recall details that coincide with what you were expecting. So, let's say I'm reading a headline that says, red apples are proven to be poisonous or something like that. I might recall something that I know or that I've heard about that. And so I'm more inclined to believe that this headline is going to be an expose on something important that I need to know so I don't get food poisoning and die. You know what I mean? They are designed to be worded in a way, in a presentation that people are already familiar with, so that even if the article is not specifically talking about certain facts, details, or phrasing, that's still going to be called to people's minds, and they will subconsciously insert previous knowledge having to do with whatever topic and not realize that, that's not what the article said at all. They are preying upon previous knowledge or a memory or something like that. So it's actually a deeply psychological, very interesting topic.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Well, I suspect we're not done talking on that topic, but I think we're going to have to be done talking on that topic for now, because we've got some other headlines that I think we do really want to cover tonight. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make things a little more humorous right now. And that is Hagerstown police arrest local man with century-old revolver. And the community reacted absolutely hilariously. All right. So now I looked at the revolver pictures that the Hagerstown police posted. It is a Colt model 1878. All right. Which the last time it was produced was in 1907. So it's absolutely 100 years old. But
right.
The community's reactions, I just want to read a few of the comments regarding this revolver, and hopefully I can do this without a straight face. Great job by Wyatt Earp taking a cowboy off the streets. I certainly hope he had his HQO and legal carry permit. David Cheney. His high noon appointment will be relieved. Kenya Maddox. Andrew Cheney said that it looks like two guns from the 80s, but one of them is from the 1880s. Chris Minor, dang it, they got Billy the Kid. Tanner Craig, dude was fixing to rob the general store and ride off on horseback with that piece. And then finally, Robert Fortenberry, he left his blunderbuss in his other car. So it is so good to see that, while the community is really in crisis with a lot of recent crime issues.
Yeah, especially that particular story. That person wasn't supposed to have firearms to begin with, and they also had enough fentanyl to kill a small herd of elephants. So, I mean, like a crime was committed. I want to make sure that people realize that, like, they did not just bust into somebody's house and over this revolver. But
and actually
that is funny.
It was actually his car is where they recovered it at. So
that is
now,
funny.
what is interesting though is that depending upon the age of that revolver, if that was an earlier version of the 1878, so if it was made prior to, I believe it's 1899, that actually is not legally considered a firearm in the United States, and he actually could have legally possessed that. However, he did also have it was either a Glock or a Colt. I'm not sure which. He also had a semi-automatic with him. Once again, not allowed to own that, and that was clearly not a 100-year-old firearm. So, good job, Hagerstown Police Department, on, great that we got the firearm out of his hands. Even better that we got the drugs out of his hands, and the drugs are not going to be getting
still funny. Oh my goodness,
it is absolutely fantastic. That. Well, I think it's a good sign that they're having to resort to firearms that are that old. Okay, it was probably maybe it was stolen out of somebody's collection or something like that. The
could have been a replica. I mean, I'm just trying to think of it from law enforcement standpoint. Like, could have been a replica. Perhaps was not actually an antique firearm. Like, I get it, but it's still hysterical, and we're still going to laugh about that one because you need a little bit of laughter in life. But that also, also goes into what we were just talking about, and it is actually a fact that misleading headlines in media are more dangerous than outline fake news, because links without context go viral on social networks with the help of malicious actors on purpose. So if your link is misleading, and some people, they don't even mean to, they share it assuming that, oh my gosh, it said the sky's turning purple tomorrow. Oh my goodness, look, I better tell everyone I know. What could this be? And also, there's a physical response in human beings, and so physiologically, people that encounter negative news headlines rather than positive or neutral news, scientists actually see skin conductance levels and heart rate variability. So you actually get a little bit of a buzz, a little bit of a high, and that is because the human brain is still wired for like a flight or fight response type situation. So that is getting activated in a part of your brain called the amygdala. That is what that is for. That is where your fight or flight. That is in our DNA and in our physiology, because when we were still a very new species, like you might get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or whatever, like you need to know fight or flight. And so we still have that part of our brain, and we just don't connect with it as often because our lives are, I'm not saying the world is a safer place. I'm certainly not saying that. I am just saying that, you're not likely to get chased down and eaten by a bear. That's just not what's going to happen. So people don't recognize that is what they are experiencing, and it feels an awful lot like excitement. You get goosebumps. The hair kind of stands up on end a little bit. Your heart rate elevates. And so you are actually having a physical response, whether your brain is letting you know that or not, whether you're aware of that or not. There actually is a physiological response. And we see that predominantly with sensationalized or dramatic headlines. And so let's say that I see a headline that sounds very, very shocking. So I've already read that. I am already having that response. So even if I go on to read that article, I am now reading this article with the fear, fight, or flight activated in my brain, you see. And so even if that article goes on to say, no big deal, this was, like, the headline caught you off guard, but here's the real deal. The sky's going to be purple because we're doing fireworks. You know what I mean? I still had that physiological response. And so, it's psychological, it is economic, it ties into marketing, but it also ties into psychology and biology. So it is a very, like I said, a very multifaceted sort of thing to look into.
Yeah. Well, and this is something that I try to make sure that we do a good job on, and this is something that the entire news media the entire industry really needs to focus on is,
Yes.
we need to find a good balance between writing content that people will want to read and writing content that will just scare the hell out of people.
Yes, especially
And
with the physiological response. What are the
yeah,
most addictive substances that people have problems with? They are things like fast food, things like drugs and alcohol, energy drinks. These are all things that cause the same type of physical response. And so without meaning to, people begin to gravitate to that sort of thing, and they chalk it up as like, they were excited to read the news today, or don't even realize that it happened. And so it's actually, it can be, depending on who's on the other end of it, extremely predatory. And it's also very dangerous because at a certain point it desensitizes people.
yeah, no, I agree 100%. Well, and I love so Coban, who is a friend of mine, a gaming friend of mine, actually. He was listening a little bit. He made a comment: sensationalism will always win, like clickbait. The wilder, the better. And that is so true. I don't disagree with him. It will always win. But at the same time, I refuse to engage in it. I refuse to
Right.
engage
You
in
can't
that,
win
and
or
because
lose
of it,
if you don't play the game.
right,
And we're not
right,
trying to play the game. We're not trying to play the news is a sales mechanism. That's not our vibe. We are just trying to inform
right.
people. So we don't have to worry about winning or losing, because you can't win or lose if you're not playing the game that the other people are playing, and we're not playing that game.
Yeah, and I have said in the past before, it scares the hell out of me that we are now, I mean, really the only locally owned news outlet for Washington County, and probably when you look at volume, we're probably the for local focused news outlets, we're probably number 2 now.
Right, and I believe, am I correct that in the entire state of Maryland, we now still only have 2 independent outlets, including us?
3 now.
3, okay. But
There
that's for the
might
whole
be some
state,
other.
so.
So there might be some other smaller ones that are like college
Right.
produced, but for actual, like, hey, we're focused on news. There is us. There is the Baltimore Sun, which is now local independent in Baltimore, as well as the Baltimore Banner. I'm absolutely ecstatic that Baltimore has 2 local independent news outlets now. That's just fantastic to me, and I'm so happy about it. So
Yeah.
yeah. So all right. So we probably should move on to another topic, though. So BB, what other news topics you want to chat about tonight?
I think that if people haven't seen it already, we should probably discuss the temporary traffic pattern downtown.
The temporary traffic pattern that will probably become a permanent traffic pattern because it's cheaper to just leave it in place.
Yeah, well, maybe. Well, I think it depends on. So, the way that I understand it is that it is an experiment, and
Yeah.
they're trying to see the results. And I already, a lot of people seem to be suggesting that it is causing further congestion or confusion. But I mean, I don't know. That could just be because it's it takes us a little bit to adjust to new things around here. So hey, but
Well,
just be aware that they are. It is supposed to be temporary, but and I looked into this the design of this and the system of this. And the thinking is you try it in one spot of the town, you see how it goes, but then the city then owns all of that equipment that they use to set this up. And so therefore they can deploy that elsewhere, either temporarily or permanently.
So, I'm going to go ahead and express some concerns on it because I've driven through there a couple times now, both directions. And as you are heading out of town, as you are getting ready to go past what used to be Sheetz, what's now the Mega Penny Mart or whatever it's called now.
I call it Mart because I can't remember.
There you go. So they have removed completely the left-hand turn lane.
Yes.
So are you allowed to turn left there? There's no sign saying you can't, but there's also no more turn lane there. So, that's one of the things that makes me concerned. But what really, truly makes me concerned, I will echo the sentiment of Council Member Kristen Ailshire, is that the state of Maryland put those measures in place before the city of Hagerstown agreed to it.
Yes.
That is a serious issue. Okay. Right. Especially if the city council had decided not to approve it. Now what? Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for removing the stuff? So
well, I actually did a little bit of looking into that, actually, because I had very much the same question. And so I actually pulled a map of the dual highway area, and the city limits kind of crisscross over that. So there are cases where you move something a couple feet and it's not in city limits anymore. So then they can just, you're affecting the same neighborhoods, you're affecting the same traffic, the same people. It's just not. So, I'm guessing that they just were kind of like, all right, I guess we're trying this. But I just think people should be alert, especially because we have just gone back to school here in Washington County. And I personally did not notice a whole lot of signage or warning that was saying anything about new traffic pattern ahead. Now, I could have just missed that. But I certainly didn't feel like...
No, there was no warning.
Okay, good. So I didn't just miss it. Okay.
Well, and in fact, the reason I realized there was no warning was because I was actually going to turn left there when there was no left turn lane anymore. And and it's luckily, I wasn't half asleep at 2 a.m. or something, or there's a chance I might have hit one of those poles or something.
Right. Right.
I'm like I said, I'm very concerned on that, and we'll see what happens on it. So, any last comments, last thoughts on that?
No, not really. I am interested to see how it turns out because, I am a bit of a curmudgeon. You might call me a negative Nancy or things of that nature. I don't intend to be, but I do always, deep down, I do always hope that if someone has come up with an idea that they think might make something safer or provide easier access for residents, I do hope maybe it will work out. I hope it does. I just, I personally don't find that setup very user friendly, for lack of a better descriptor. And also, this is the area where we have a lot of pedestrian traffic because it is literally the area where not only is traffic coming from downtown onto Dual Highway, anybody on foot that is coming out of residential, these are the streets that they are crossing to walk to or ride a bike to any of those businesses on Dual Highway.
Right. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I've got some concerns. I understand why they're doing it because I know that there's, concerns about the, pedestrian traffic, especially in that area. But at the same time, I think it's more of a problem of pedestrians being stupid than it
Yes.
is driver safety. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope it works. At the same time, I'm not optimistic on it. So
Yeah. Yeah, and we're not sensationalizing that one. We have checked it out thoroughly, and it just
yeah,
doesn't. But again, I guess the positive news on that, or the general outlook on that, is that is to be an installation until November, and it does not actually have to stay up until November. If there is some sort of unforeseen problem where we are immediately having accidents or other dangerous incidents, or purely it's just not working out, traffic's backing up, whatever, it does not have to stay up until November. It can be removed at any time. So,
that's good.
yeah.
So, all right. So, and I will say on this, and we don't need to discuss this article any, but a related topic. Washington County Transit is currently seeking public input for future transportation development.
Yes.
That's a survey that they have put out. Go on to our website, look exactly for the headline I just read, and then I have near the bottom a link to the survey. Please go complete the survey if you haven't already. That way you can help out the county with better understanding our future transit needs. And if you don't go out and complete the survey, you have no right to complain that nobody ever asked you about how to make it better. So, yeah.
And on a positive note, we personally have put out 2-3 surveys, ours, or like you said, we're sharing government or whoever else, making it accessible to people that might not realize it exists. I mean, let's be real. A lot of times, people don't follow government entities on Facebook, or people don't just think like, oh, I'm gonna get up and check the city website today and see what the haps are. So by news media outlets and even popular content creators sharing things like that, then people don't have that the regret that, had I known about this, I totally would have participated. I've got opinions. So, I'm with you there. And I think that that is a positive takeaway in general, is that we have sort of identified that if you do make these sorts of things accessible, we get immediate response and we get genuine response. So I think that's wonderful.
So, speaking of genuine response, multi-purpose indoor building at Agricultural Center canceled, completely canceled. No, so there wasn't a meeting originally scheduled for April 17th. When the details came out about the multi-purpose center, which was going to completely replace the area for the tractor pool, there was a huge uproar in the agricultural community, especially the parts of the community that had donated towards building that agricultural center in the first place.
Oh my!
And so they canceled the meeting completely, rescheduled it for August with a new plan. That new plan relocated the building yet again to across from where the current event center is. So that would actually put it down in the potato field area, if anyone's familiar with that area. That apparently was not satisfactory to people either, because they apparently got enough complaints that they just completely canceled the project. And this was supposed to be a very large indoor building. It was supposed to, but it was an event center. It wasn't an agriculturally focused. In fact, it had it was more of a sports and recreational center than it was an actual agricultural center. They did have some.
I did see a lot of confusion on both ends. I saw people that thought, well, it's at the ag center, it must have something to do with agricultural events. And then I also saw people that, where they were like, well, aren't we already getting, like a multi-sports and events center? What do we need? So I think
there is one being built in Hagerstown.
Yes.
And
So I
and
think
it's almost the same thing. It is
yes.
almost the exact same thing.
And I think that it would have perhaps gone a long way to make sure that it was a little easier to find the information about, we think this is a good idea, and here's how this is going to enhance so many people's experience, or something to that effect. I just think like people were confused about what it was. They were confused about why it was necessary, or they were under the impression that it was going to be like sort of a niche thing, like only for agricultural events. And hey, we already have an ag center. Or the opposite, that it would be taking something from our designated agricultural fund area and using it for something else when we already have one for sports being built. So I just think that there was a lot of confusion, and there was kind of a lot of pushback before people even had the chance to find out what it was.
And, so from what I have been told by certain individuals who, I will not name their names, I will not tell you where they are at in county government, but I will tell you they were in county government. This was actually the third attempt at that. The first attempt was actually relating to the location where the public safety it's basically the public safety academy or something to that effect, the huge training facility that was built for our fire, EMS, and Washington County Sheriff. Apparently, originally, somebody was trying to put this facility in that area or use the funding from that for this. So this concept, while noble in that, they're trying to create a better place for multi-purpose, events, at the same time, I think it's a cursed concept at this point, and I think that it's had too much problems.
I personally think that the kind of Achilles heel of this is that they kind of, well, I don't know if they did or not, but the perception is that they just went ahead and decided what sort of multi-purpose events people might be wanting or liking, and I didn't really see anywhere where they were kind of asking people like, what kind of events can you not find in this area that you love attending? What do basically, what do you leave in town to spend money on? What don't we have here?
Right.
That you drive to somewhere else because you just enjoy this thing so much it's worth the drive. What do we not offer you and your friends in whatever, group, club, sport, whatever that is? What's missing? Like, we want to do this. We want to make this a place where people that don't have anywhere to go or don't really see any super accessible or sustainable options for whatever it is they do. What are those things that you do? What do you need a space for? And I think a lot more people would have supported that if they had been involved in the planning process, or felt that there wasn't already a predetermined blueprint set of plans for what exactly this was going to be and where it was going to go, without even asking people, do you want this? And I think that kind of goes back to, we have so many things that need funding, whether it's community programs or programs for children or sports or infrastructure improvements, whatever. And so I kind of think that anytime that we say, we've got the funding and we're doing this, people's immediate response is like, what prioritizes this over something else that can benefit from similar funding, or you know what I'm saying? So I just think that an effort could be made in the future. And I'm not even saying it was intentional. Maybe they just didn't realize. Maybe they thought people would assume. Maybe they thought people would get on there and read the however many pages of the proposal, whatever. It would just go a long way to just kind of, do a little video, have a little meeting, just kind of look people in the face, even virtually, and just say, hey, drop a comment, let us know, what do you think about this? Is this something that we want or need? and let people feel like they are involved in the planning process, and it's not just we are in charge, so we are going to do the stuff for you because we care. You know what I mean? That's two very different approaches.
Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely.
And if you're making dinner for your family, if you invite friends for dinner, okay, and that's very much the attitude of, well, you needed dinner. I figured you were hungry, so I made it. Well, if I didn't ask them if they were hungry or what kind of food they like to eat, or then I haven't really been as thoughtful as I might think that I have been.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that goes back to the, me mentioning the surveys and everything.
Right.
By God, go on there and if they're asking for your feedback, give them the feedback.
Right.
That way, because the more people that provide feedback, the better they're going to be able to shape their decisions.
And the more places important. That people can find the surveys, the better response you get. If it's only printed on a website or on a Facebook post or something, a lot of people are going to miss that. So if you can get it out to other pages, media outlets, let us know. You know what I mean? If you're looking for feedback, we are happy to share things like that, because, as I said, we recently discovered that the minute that you ask people, what do you think, someone cares about your opinion, they're happy to give it. So that's a positive thing that we have established, that Washington County and Hagerstown, the people will absolutely participate if you give them the option.
And you know what? That seems to be something that a lot of the small local governments struggle with. And I'm going to give props to the county, because the county has been pretty good about this kind of thing. I see surveys like the transit survey come out pretty regularly. But I think this is something that a lot of the smaller governments like Smithsburg or Williamsport or Hancock, I think that's something that they struggle with. And I will give a big shout out to Hancock. They have been, in the past year, I have seen them revolutionize their social media presence and really start to take off.
They have completely they tore it down and built it up again, and they were very transparent about it. They just came right out and said, we did not intentionally set up a system that people don't care for or don't know about or whatever, but we recognize that is what happened, and so we are all going to start from scratch together. Please let us know your ideas. And I think that's fantastic. That's the way to go. Just ask people, they'll tell you.
And I had the privilege of sending some guidance to their town manager and help them with that a little bit. And I'm so glad that they took my advice, and I've really seen that prospering. So fantastic. So
yes.
All right. Well, I think we've got time for one more article. BB, what's the final article you want to talk about tonight?
No, you can go ahead and pick. We pretty much covered everything that I was hoping to touch on, actually.
All right. Well, I will. I debated on whether I wanted to bring this one up, but I think I'm going to. And that is, questions about Moore's integrity arise anew after 2006 report surfaces. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is very relevant to our state specifically. Now the reason that these questions arose was because Governor Moore was apparently a candidate for Harris for her presidential run. Apparently, Governor Moore was one of the finalists for the vice president spot. He did not get selected for that.
And he did not want. He went on. Oh my goodness, the name of the show is slipping my mind. I think it was like America Tonight or something like that. I don't even know if that's a show. Something to that effect. And he said that he did not want to be considered for that.
So yeah.
And also we had Waltz, who was very publicly accused of misrepresenting or being vague or purposely misleading people about his own military record and military experience. And so I think that caused a lot of other people to say, like, well, my goodness, if this person is on television lying, who else is out here saying that they're a hero or this or that? Or not that all that serve are not a hero in some respect, but it just really does beg the question. It's almost insulting. Like, did you think people weren't going to find out? Did you think nobody was going to care? Like, what's the point in that?
So what happened with Governor Moore is that apparently on a 2006 application to a White House fellowship program, which is a very competitive program, by the way. I considered applying to it many years ago. I ended up not applying, but apparently, and in fact, I think it might have been around that same time that I considered applying. So it probably wouldn't have mattered anyway. Apparently, he put on his application that he was awarded the Bronze Star Medal from the 82nd Airborne Division. Now, Moore was never given that medal. However, he put that on his application based upon the direction of his commanding officer, who told him he had put him in for it. So I feel bad for Moore because he just followed what his commanding officer told him to do. His commanding officer said, "I'm putting you in for it. You're probably going to get it. Go ahead and put it on your application." But
yes,
at the same time,
yeah,
right. At the same time, you if you don't have that award yet, you don't put that on your application.
Yeah,
and that probably omitted somebody.
When you're doing an application for anything, the fine print always says, like, I attest that this information is true, blah, 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 blah. If somebody tells you to write something down that isn't true and their name is not going on the bottom saying that this information came from me, don't do that. Like, just be honest. Just say that I am a candidate and may receive something like that. That's the truth.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Just to put on there, nominated for Bronze Star Medal.
Right.
That right there would have been sufficient.
Right.
But to put on there that he had the Bronze Star when he did not have the Bronze Star,
and not a good look for the governor not a good look for the governor to come out and say, like, oh yeah, I put down false information because somebody else told me to. Like, that's not that's not helping your case. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And he's previously been come under fire regarding this non-existent Bronze Star because in interviews, people have said that he was awarded a Bronze Star.
Yes.
And even though he knows he never got one, he didn't correct them and say, no, I didn't get a Bronze Star.
Right.
So that is the serious issue here.
Yes.
And now I'm very saddened by Moore's statement that he said, and I'm going to read this statement, and it was that once again set the record straight. I'm sorry, saying that he will once again set the record straight as people hunt for new ways to undermine his service to our country in uniform. And I have some serious issue with that because
that's not what anyone was doing. Everyone was saying that you claiming that you have received an award or accolade that you did not receive, that is not undermining anything that you did for our country. We appreciate your service. We appreciate everybody's service. But that's disrespectful to the people that actually did get that award, because it's not, if anybody can just claim this award, even though they did not receive it, and as you said, did not make an effort to correct that until, you kind of got caught with your pants down about it, that just kind of makes people question every veteran that they encounter telling a similar story, and that's a shame. That's not fair, and it's not right.
Yeah, and I also think it's very sad that people are jumping to his defense on that, saying, well, somebody told him to do it. No, I'm sorry. Somebody tells you to lie on an official document. You know what you don't do? You don't lie on the official document.
And that does not apply for anyone else. And I always try to boil things down to the simplest analogy here. And let's pretend that I was going to court to be a witness for something. And I, wrote down my witness testimony. I signed it on the dotted line. I said that this is true to the best of my knowledge. And it was proven to be false. And I said, oh, well, my legal counsel told me to write that. Who's getting in trouble? Me. Because I can't prove that that person told me to do something.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and that does not mean anyone is trying to undermine or not appreciate or call into question your service. That means that people are simply requesting that you don't tell us puppy pies. Like, tell us the truth so that we can fully appreciate what it is that you did do.
Yep, absolutely. So, all right. Well, I think that we're about done for the night. We're actually over again. Imagine that. I think we're a little bit long-winded, BB. So I believe that's going to be it for the night. Thank you for listening on behalf of BB and myself and all of the Radio Free Hub City family. I can't talk tonight. And we hope that you'll join us next time. And don't forget to visit our website for more local and national news at radiofreehubcity.com.